It's everybody. Yes, today I'm here early to show to start our live stream. We are going to talk about ourselves and what happened a very long time ago. So we'll be joined in by our sister, our Nigerian sister living in Russia in a few time. Yes. So whilst we wait, shout outs to each and every one who have been supportive to this channel. Yes, this is not a normal time on Sundays, but we are early today. So if you are here, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's going to be a quick one. And then yes, we will need to rest tonight. Yeah. So if you are here, much love, much appreciated, because the time has changed. All right, thank you so much, Stella Chanelli, for coming. Really appreciate. Humble Gambian, thank you so much for joining. Much appreciated. Kindly subscribe to Stella Chanelli's channel. She's also doing well, very, very well. Wherever you want to be in Ghana here, beautiful things you want to see, she will show you. So if you are there, shout outs to you. Oh, she missed me. Yes, she missed me so much on YouTube. So Stella, I'll be joining. I'll be hitting the road soon. Yes, let me say it that way. Yes, I'll be hitting the road soon. When is your next trip so that I can join? When is your next trip? Tell me so I can join. Yes, I want to go on a trip with you so we can do something together. The topic has already started. We are just waiting for our sister to join. Just waiting for our sister to join. So it's not always about one side of the story. We need to know the other side of the story. People say, hey, these people caused slavery, these people brought slavery, no. We need to know both sides of the story. So we have our sister coming in a few to give us some insights about it. Yes, yes, she is here, and then we'll welcome her into the live stream. Thank you so much for joining. Yes, the African Unite Force. Thank you so much for joining. All right.
Thank you so much, Natasha, for having me. I'm really thrilled to be here. Can you hear me?
Hold on, I'm trying. My microphone is low. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you so much for having me on your platform, David Rees.
Okay.
I'm really thrilled to be here for us to have this discussion as Africans, globally, right? Doesn't matter where we are in the world, right? So, I mean, for those of you who don't really know, Nafi Chris and I, we are friends even before I became a YouTuber, right? So, I mean, he's really been encouraged even before I started. Even before I started my YouTube channel, Nappy Bricks, I had a discussion with him. I told him that, look, I'm about to start and things like that. But actually, what actually inspired me to, to come out there, because I'm really shy as a person. I don't really like being out there in the media, but people really find it really hard to believe that. Right. So actually, what actually inspired me to start up a YouTube channel was when I saw two Russian female, because I was about to send you, I was going to send you that video, when they came to Ghana and they did a documentary when they came to Ghana, right? So they went directly to the slum and they were doing a documentary about Ghana and saying all sort of trashless words and downgrading the country and giving a one-sided story about Africa, which Ghana was, representing at that particular point in time. And they have about, a lot of people, right, following them. They have a lot of subscribers, about 1 million plus, right? It's a big, platform. So I speak Russian and understand Russian. So it didn't sit well with me. And I'm like, okay, so this is the narrative that has been pushed for so long,
Yeah.
um, as African, the single side or one single story, right? Which is very dangerous. And that
So
actually led me to, to start up something and to change that narrative.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Much appreciated. And then we really love the fact that you wanted to change the narrative of certain um, um, things by different people who don't really know much about what they were doing. So we really appreciate that. And then it's also part of pushing the agenda of Africa to the world and also changing so many narratives about what this perception of Africa, that Africa is this, Africa is that. So today and to this evening on your side, we really want to say thank you so much for joining. And the topic for today, I'm sorry, I'm missing the day. The topic for today is going to be really, really amazing. And I hope our people will be here to ask questions and also put in some suggestions. Yes, today we're not going to pick any calls. It's just going to be talk, 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 and your questions. So our sister has done the introduction. So we'll just jump into the video so we don't waste much time and then we'll finish early. Thank you so much for coming again once again.
Thank you for having me. I'm really thrilled to be here.
All right. So what do you have for us on this topic?
Right. I mean, the danger of a single story was
Mhm.
actually inspired by one of Nigerian phenomenon writer, a novelist, right, and a storyteller, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, because that haven't read some of her books. This particular one, The Danger of a Single Story, really hit home for me, as a Nigerian, right? I could relate with a lot of things. And I believe that because I believe that we as a people, we can actually relate to that. So it is something that I could relate to. So that was really amazing. So if you take a look at this coin here, you can see that it has the front and the back side, right? And now a lot of the times, a lot of people just, tell the story, or they just, for instance, now look at the coin. Now, if you look at the coin, just the front side of it, you might not really have a clear understanding, or you might not really have an in-depth understanding what it represents until you
Right.
might want to turn it over like this, turn to the back of the coin, and then you can get the two sides to what the coin is, right? You can have the information from the back, from the front, and from the back, so you can get an in-depth understanding. So it is literally very important that we have like stories, we give room to both sides of stories and not just one-sided story. That has been detrimental to Africa, and Africans when it comes to the image of Africa and how Africa and Africans has been portrayed. So also that has really damaged, some of us African globally, mentally as well. So I think that that needs to change. That needs to change. So at a point, I'm also guilty when it comes to the single story. I'm guilty.
Right.
So you will be finding out that later as we proceed. Now, here is a quote from here's a quote, right, from a writing of a London merchant, right, called John Locke. Now,
All
who
right.
sailed to West Africa in 1561 and kept an account of his voyage. After referring to the black Africans in as beasts, right, as beasts, he said that, he said there are also people without heads, you know, having their mouth and their eyes in their breast. Now, he represents the beginning of telling African stories in the West, right? In the West, in the West and Europe, right? A tradition of look at this now. Give me a minute now because I need to get this really. Look at this. A tradition of sub-Saharan Africa as a place of negatives, right? So this is really very it's very, very important. Now, from the eyes of John Locke, African, Africa and Africans were seen as people that has their eyes, their head and their eyes, on their breast. So this was how the European, when he traveled back to Europe and the West, he told them this is how these people were living over there. This is what is going on over there. These people are, are these, look at the narrative. Now they believed him because he is representing, they're seeing Africa from his eyes, which is a single story. You understand? Which is a single story. And it's very, very dangerous, you see. Now, but a professor had told Chimamanda Ngozi, right, the Nigerian writer that I talked about,
Right.
inspired me to, to talk about this topic, right? The professor had told her that her novel was not authentically African. Now that there were a number of things wrong with the novel, but she, her response was very phenomenal to me. It was really phenomenal to me. She responded and she said it might have failed, in a number of places, but has not failed to achieve something which is called African authenticity. Now, my question is, what does it mean to have and to be that African authenticity? The reason the professor, mind you, had said to her that her novel was not authentically African was because her characters
Mhm.
were pretty much as him, right? An educated and middle class man. Her characters drove cars. They were not starving. Therefore, they were not authentically African. That was a single story coming from the professor that he saw African, like, there must be a starving kids, they shouldn't, they're not educated, they should not be driving cars and all of these things, So that is coming from a single side of a story, which is very, very dangerous. Now, growing up in Nigeria as a Nigerian, right? I have read, the first ever book that I read was is a book with the European characteristics or characters in it, right? Now, mind you, I didn't go to school early enough, simply because I was not allowed to, because they have these procedures, these rules and regulations, right? Back then, which is actually prompted by the British, right? So because they say I have not grown enough or I was too short because my hands could not, reach my ears. Therefore, I'm
Mhm.
not allowed to go to school. I have to be at home. Now, the books that I first, read as an African child was a book, as a child, right? Was a book that has European characters in it.
Right.
I didn't see anything I could relate to in that book, right? So again, and what they were portraying was, I saw snow, in the book. I saw, all of these things, right? So I mean, I couldn't relate to snow because of course I've not, I'm pretty much raining. When we have season, we have is raining season, sunny season, Hamatan. These are pretty much the seasons that we have, right? Except some in places like the south, and perhaps some areas in East Africa that is pretty much a little bit cold, right? Yeah. So I couldn't relate to anything, that when it comes to that book. Pretty much the authors were European authors. There is nothing. So the writing was not authentically African. I had nothing, to relate to. So you see, that was very dangerous and detrimental to what? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can hear you.
So yeah, okay, all right. So yeah, so you can see that it is very, very dangerous that we listen to just one side to a story.
Oh, right.
Now let me take it back to let me come back to we were shown. I personally was shown certain aspects and narrative about Black Americans. Because of course back in Africa I didn't even know. I do watch videos, songs, music, of Black Americans. I really did not know who they are and what they're all about. So, but again, there are also different side of the story. When I was pushed or sold to us, it was like I saw gangsterism. This was what I was watching in the TV about Black Americans, right? I saw gangsterism. I saw single mothers. I saw men, in the prison, the men in the prison, perhaps for one crime or the other. So you see, but when it comes to the European, I saw play out of this beautiful place, where with these beautiful flowers and garden and all of these things. So really fascinating. It was really fascinating. Like that like us in Africa, we want to we look up to the Europeans. Why? Because everything from the religion down to our educational system is Eurocentric, and everything that was given or given to us because the characters, even the biblical character. So the biblical characters, right, and the movies that were portrayed, these are something that is white. It's all white, right? I didn't see anything that looks like my ancestors in these movies portraying, the Jesus or the biblical aspect, right? I didn't see none of that. So again, I couldn't relate. I couldn't relate to that. Now, when it comes to the educational system as well, our history was obliterated. Now, the only thing that I was taught about Europe and the West, was taught about everything about Europe and the West, but nothing about my history, nothing about an African history that tells an African story. Now, African history has always been taught or told by a white, author or white, writer, which is a one-sided story that does not really depict what Africa really is. if we move over to mainstream media, right, it has always been, again, this negative aspect of what, where they have starving, the depict as a place where, a lots of diseases, they have lots of diseases. They depict Africa as people, like we are not just good enough. We're not just good enough. That is a single story coming from mainstream media, coming from the West. Now, I do blame Africans to an extent for allowing that for donkey years to go on. Why? Because we allow the West to 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 actually how do I say, they be the one to narrate our story, to narrate our history, to tell us about ourselves. You see, we we weren't telling our own stories. We weren't telling and showcasing our own continent. That's why your platform is literally very important. Showing Africa, to the world in the most positive way that you can. You see, because you're trying to prove that narrative, that, and that's why media like this are very, very, very important. So you see, now talking about, again, back to Africans in the diaspora. By Africans in the diaspora, I mean those in the Caribbean, those in America, Brazil, and etc. Right now, the pictures, the movies, and some of these things that they showed is from a single story. And who are the people showing these stories? These were the Europeans showing this single story about our people. And it gives me this narrative. It gives us this narrative. So then we are like, the gangsterism, they fight themselves, they kill themselves, they shoot themselves, and all of that. They didn't tell us about the system that makes them to do those things that they're doing. They did not tell us the system that is crippling Black people in America and in the Caribbean. They did not tell us about the system that is deliberately putting the Black men in prison.
Mm-hmm.
You see, therefore taking, they are breaking the family unit. Again, the danger of a single story, and why we must, have this, or must be, and have this authentically, African perspective. Next generation, by our next generation, I am talking about our children, which is our future. Now, we must begin to think with the mind of, a long-term plan, because
Mm-hmm.
we as Black people or Africans globally, what we do is we have a short-term plan, right? Use the Berlin conference, for instance, right? They planned a long-term plan of something that will destroy Africa. Up until today, we are still fighting the Berlin conference. That has to do with your Ghanaian, I mean Nigerian, all of these ridiculous foreign names and artificial borders that has absolutely nothing to do with us. So you see, today we fight ourselves based on these artificial borders and artificial names that was given to us, right? So again, that is why I'm saying that we need to teach our children and future generation African, uh, um, African mindsets. We need to teach them with an African curriculum. You see, they should be authentically African. So these are the things that is lacking today. If you go to the continent of Africa, our children are learning European and Western history instead of their history. You see, again, when it comes to the religious setting, what is the image that is portrayed to our children? You see, they are targeting the younger minds. They are targeting the younger mind, which is the next generation. And we don't know what is going to happen to our next generation, this generation.
Mm-hmm.
It is very important that this generation, we come together, we unite, and we tell our stories, and we teach our own children by ourselves, and do not leave it to foreigners to teach them. You see, because foreigners has taught us. pretty much not taught. They brainwashed us, to think in a particular way. Because again, how can we stand up education? I do not call it education. What is education? You see, I don't call it education. They are teaching us how to be loyal slaves. They are teaching us how to be employees, and as how they're not teaching you how to be self-sufficient. They're not teaching you how to be what entrepreneurs, but they're teaching you how to do what to work, to get more diploma, to get more papers. Your time is going, your years is going, and then you wasting your money is going. All of these things is systematic, that is set to destroy, you know, to destroy the African authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, so these are the things that we need to change. And you know what? That is why I say to continental Africans, it is literally very important that you weigh the two sides to a story. Now, I am guilty to an extent. I am guilty, not to an extent, coming from a brainwashed mentality as a Nigerian, right? About the pictures and all the stories that they've taught and they showed me about Black Americans and those from the Caribbean. Now, is it my fault that I saw my own people in this, in the way that I did? Absolutely. Yes. But again, because I'm taking responsibility, I do believe in accountability, right? So I do take responsibility, and for that I truly apologize to my brothers and sisters. I was just brainwashed, right? But thank goodness that I am unlearning and relearning certain things. And now I was, intrigued to read about the history of
Mm-hmm.
Black Americans and those from the Caribbean as well. These are our people. I read about the Black Wall Street. It gave me
Right.
an insight of what really happened in America. I read about, a lot of things. The Willie Leach letter. I read about, a lot of things. So now my narrative, or my perspective has changed, over time, when it comes to our people scattered across the globe. So I am not seeing them from the eyes of a single story or a single perspective that was pushed to me as from a child through brainwashing by a means called quote unquote Western education.
Yeah.
You see, now since reading about the history has changed my narrative. That is why, to continental Africans, you have to read and understand the history of our people, the mental laziness, because a lot of us are mentally lazy because we don't want to, we don't want to read and
Mm-hmm.
understand certain things, to understand our people, to understand ourselves. You see, every other race of people are learning about us, reading about us, studying about us. We are the only set of people who do not take the time to read about ourselves, our history, to observe one another, to actually have, build that relationship with one another. You see, we are only feeding on divisive, mechanism or drama and things like that. These are things that does not benefit us. Rather, it takes us back. It takes us really back. So that's what I'm saying. We need to learn about each other for us to have a balance. We must. It's a must that we learn about each other's, history. Then we begin to understand why certain of our people, are, certain things happen to them, why they are reacting the way they are reacting, or things like, it goes to both ways. It goes both ways, right? And again, to our brothers and sisters across, in the diaspora, it's also important that you read about the history of continental Africans from an African perspective, not from a Eurocentric perspective with European
Right.
authors and things like that. You have to hear it from the horse's mouth, right? That is why media like Nappy Briggs, Wodemaya, and many other media that are telling the African story is really, really paramount. Therefore, why should I want to know, about Black Americans going through, a white American, when I can actually approach my Black American brothers and sisters, and let them teach me and tell me about the history and tell me about the struggle in America and tell me about all of these things. We need to learn about each other. It is very, very important that we do that.
Can you take a water break? Exactly 30 minutes now. I want to read the comment section. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, people are giving you shout outs and then people are saying you are doing well. So she's still here. She's not gone. She's taking a water break after 30 minutes. So we'll read your comments. This one is from Andy. No, let me start from the top. Otherwise, people will come for me. Yes. So this one is from Simon. Simon says, shout out to Nappy Breaks. Hello, African Unite Falls. Thank you so much for coming, Simon. Yes, this is my sister here, Arik One, who is pumped one on side. She says, peace, love, light to you, Nappy Breaks, and to the African Unite Force. Shout outs to you, Simon. Peace and blessing, African. Arik says, shout outs to you, Stella. Okay, let's go straight to Miss Anne. Thank you so much for joining. Yes, it's been a while. Yes. So that's a good illustration you have just used. African Unite Force. Thank you so much, Simon. Greetings to my sister from Miss Anne. Get the likes out, family. Thank you so much. And the peace and black power to my African family from the Bahamas. Thank you so much for joining. You are very far. Yes, please raise the likes and share the live stream. Thank you so much. Shout outs to you, Simon. Hi, Nappy Breaks. Greetings to our sister to Ebony. Thank you so much for joining, Ebony. Indeed, that single story has been going on for a very long time. It's so true, spreading throughout the West. The West see us black people as inferior, which is so sad. Yes, we are here to change those perceptions and narratives against black people. Yes, this one is from ND. We can hear you. Okay, that's when our sound went out. Yes, they view Africans all over like that, even us in America. Wow, Miss Anne, thank you so much. Sugar Family TV says it's also taught in schools, from the books to the movies. Yes. So one thing about this thing that is going on is our syllables in Africa are even brought here by the white people. They bring our syllables. We don't even write the syllables or the curriculum by ourselves. They are brought from the West. So even if they are teaching something about black people, they are telling us our own history, which shouldn't be like that. Yes, I read one book and was telling us the benefits of slavery. It's so sad. It's so sad. Okay, randomly. Hi, Miss Grace. Thank you so much for joining. I saw one nice comment here. Yes, it was from Andy. Let me read that one, then you continue. Andy says, I live in Europe, been learning a lot about Africa, the different tribes, cultures, language, etc. I love all of Igbo, Asante, Ewe, Bamileke, Ga, Luba, Bankungo, Fanti, and Kikuyu, etc. I love Africa. Okay, let's put this across. Andy is saying he or she, I don't know, the person lives in Europe and he has been learning about all these tribes. Do you think it's a good idea, or the person should be in Africa to learn about, or be with the people to learn about the people, the tribe? Hello, can you hear me? The African Unite Force, can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So Andy is saying he's living in Europe and he's learning about all these tribes. So I want to pass this question across. Since he's in Europe, I want to ask that, is it good to be in Europe and learn about all these cultures? Or is it good to be among these people and learn about their culture here in Africa?
If it is good to be in Europe and learn about the African culture, or is rather
Good
to be
in Africa.
to be in Africa.
Yeah.
And well, I think the best is to be in Africa and learn the African culture from Africans
Mm.
themselves, so that they can tell you everything that you need to know, from an African perspective, which is coming from the horse's mouth.
Right.
Because if you go to the French Museum, you're going to see lots of artifacts that is there, you see, and then you see the white Frenchmen who are historians, of course, telling about my ancestors, telling about our ancestors. I mean, the whole of the French Museum is full of our artifacts, African artifacts, right? Full of our ancestral work, and it is really, it's laughable, that, they are the ones telling about those history. Now, the thing,
Mm-hmm.
my question is, those artifacts were actually stolen by the French, the British, Portugals, and many of these people after colonization or during colonization. And those artifacts, they really do not understand, the concept or why those artifacts were made. Only our ancestors can actually tell the history, the story behind those artifacts. So it's so like, it is really fascinating to me that they are the one telling our stories, telling our history, telling people, and they're making tons of, money from those this. And you see, what is quite shocking to me is I see lots of, Africans who go to that in a museum to get to listen to these European people telling them about their own history, telling them about their own story. Now, my question to Africans is, how is
Mm-hmm.
it that the people who came and colonized your ancestors, raped, murder, stole, particularly the evidence is the artifact and many other things, and stole your people, captured a lot of your people into slavery. How is it possible that the same people are telling, you about your story and telling you about your history? What makes you think that they're going to tell you the truth? And it all boils down to, again, to our educational system again. Who are the people that are educating your children? This is to the global black community. Who are the people that are educating your children? How do you live how do you live, the educational, how do you live, how do I call it now? Educating your children to, again, the people who's always, throughout history, have lied about everything. They lied about us. We are this, we are that, we are all of that. They lied about, our ancestors, their image, when this came, came as missionaries, right? Let me use Nigeria for instance. Now, when they came to Nigeria as missionaries, mind you, they came as missionaries, right? When they came to Nigeria, they destroyed pretty much all our ancient civilization. I'm going to use the southeastern part of Nigeria, right? That has a pyramid that is called the Insude Pyramid. That pyramid is built exactly the same with the ziggurat pyramid of Egypt. Exactly, it's called the step-by-step pyramid of Egypt. So it is the same step-by-step pyramid built in the southeastern part of Nigeria. So now they destroyed all those, civilization. They destroyed the pyramid and all of that. Now my question is, and they changed the image of our spirituality, that has to do with, our ancestors. Now they gave us an image that looks like them. That's why continental Africans or black people globally, we glorify the image that looks like the image they gave to us that told us that it is our God. So you see, and would you blame
Right.
continental Africans or blame black people if for donkey years we've been forced to submit, we've been forced, to worship, we've been forced to look up to, and then we are still waiting for, the same, image of a person to come down and save us. And that is why we are so lazy to do, not like we are really hardworking. I'm saying that we are lazy to an extent to actually make decisions, drastic decisions for us. Why? Because we are waiting for people to make decisions for us, and then what we do, we flip, and then we want to come out and then we protest. What decisions are we making? What agenda do we have? We don't have our own agenda. We are only submitting to other people's agenda, and then we turn and then we flip. when they bring certain things to us, and it's like, why is it that we are the only set of people without our own agenda?
Yes.
These are the questions we should be asking ourselves. And to our children, leaving our children to, the quote unquote, people who came stole, people who came rape, people who came and do a lot of things to us, leaving our children to do what? To further brainwash them to become loyal slaves. And when these children become loyal slaves, they cannot stand up to the people who has brainwashed them or who has educated them, quote unquote education, who has educated them, for life. How do you stand up? The only thing those set of children can do, I'm talking about this set of children who studied in Harvard University, who studied in all of these big universities, right? So it is orchestrated to keep Black people, brainwashed, brain dead. So Black people cannot think for themselves. They are, brainwashed to become loyal slaves. They are brainwashed to become just employees, employees, and not what self-sufficient or entrepreneurs. That is why we have a lot of Black people that are talking about job here, job there, still slaves mentally. So, physically the shackles is no longer there, but mentally we are still in chains. So we have a lot of, us fighting us, and you think perhaps they think you, Nappy Briggs, you're the problem. They think myself, I am the problem. But we are not the problem, because these are things that have been systematically set to keep us down. Failure to recognize, because history, I do believe, do not repeat itself. It is ignorant people that repeat history. And this generation, we are the set of ignorant people that are about to repeat the same history. I do believe in giving credit to our ancestors for the good that they have done. But I also believe that we need to, look at their steps, and see what they did that was wrong, the decision that they made that was not right for us this generation, because the decision our ancestors they made, we this generation, we are living it. And whatever decision we this generation we make right now is going to be the reality of our future. And by our future, I'm talking about our children. I am really, really very concerned and very, what is it called now? When it comes to our children, it's very, very important to me. It's literally very important to me. I really want our African children or Black children to have an African mindset, to be taught with an African curriculum. They should think themselves as authentically African. What it means to be authentically African, to be taught by us. Now, what is this system, this quote-unquote matrix that we're living in? What has it done to us? It has crippled our critical minds to think for ourselves. That is why we are so dependent on earth and everything that is, that is pushed to us. So you see, and what they're doing, they're fighting our conscious mind. When your conscious mind is being conquered, it is so difficult for you to make certain decisions for yourself. It is so difficult for you to, to think outside of the box. So there's a quote that Franklin always uses. He said, you zoom out to zoom in. Then you can have a bigger understanding or the big picture of what is actually going on. We need to educate our children by ourselves. But today what is happening? We are leaving it to the government to do it for us. Now again, the government, when it comes to the government, we have lost what is called freedom of speech. We've lost, everything. And now we've lost everything. And then the government are now in charge of our children. Right. And they overwork us. A lot of parents, they don't have time for their children. They work. And the government is busy taking care of your children for you, brainwashing them. You see, so that they will never be free. They will always depend on the government. So self-sufficiency is not taught. Back to our history. We Africans, we are taught by our ancestors how to be self-sufficient. We are not people that depend. So the whole government situation and democracy that is enforced to us as Africans through the Berlin Conference that took place in 1884 to 1885, is something that I am calling for, that it must be reviewed. And again, I am calling for a revolution. It has to do with the mental revolution.
Mm-hmm.
You see, because we need to change our mindset when it comes to us, how we view each other. We need to change our mindset. We need to change the story that has been told about us by people of other race. Why? Because it is important that we tell our story and teach our children about our story. You see what I'm saying? So when we talk about democracy, what is democracy and what has democracy? Democracy it has failed in the West. So how is it? How is democracy going to work in the continent of Africa?
Right.
So you see, so democracy came into existence or into the continent of Africa as a means of default. Democracy that was pushed into on Africans by the Europeans. You understand? This democracy is something that they killed, they dethroned all our traditional kings and traditional rulers. And what has happened is that they bring in this government, this system of government that we must depend on them. Right now, if you want to own land, you have to go through the government. If you want to, the water system, you have to go through the government. The educational system, you have to go through the government. We used to teach our children by ourselves. We didn't need to go through no government. But now you have to go through the government to be what? To be brainwashed. You have to go through the government for everything. And we are not seeing that the power lies in us and we are the government. The government are not this set of representatives. We are the government and the power lies in us and the power lies in our numbers. If we can actually see the bigger picture and connect and reunite, we can change a lot of things. Now again, to diaspora Africans and continental Africans, it is important that you see Africa as home. So when you don't see Africa as home, you continue in the bidding of mainstream media by showing and portraying a single story, by showing and bringing your dirty laundry, bringing your what is it called, the dirty laundry in your country and showcasing it to the world. Now Europeans have had, they're smart enough to hide their dirty laundry. They always show the good side about them. That is why you see on the continent of Africa, until you travel to see the other side. If I had not traveled, I would never have had any, I didn't understand what racism was all about until I traveled. Then I started experiencing it. Then I started seeing the other side of the Europeans that I never saw on the continent of Africa. Because on the continent of Africa, they come with gifts. They come with all of these things, and some goodies, and they give it to Africans. They are very friendly, they're very polite, they're very calm, they're very hospitable to us. But is that all that is about them? When you travel, you see the other side. That is why I use an example of the coin. I said when you are presented with just the face of the coin, the front side of the coin, you would not know the story. The other side, the back side of the coin. So when you turn the coin over, you turn it over, you will see the back side. Then you will be able to understand in depth about what the coin is all about. You have an in-depth information, in-depth knowledge and understanding of the coin. So it is important for two sides to a story rather than one side to a story. Now again, I say that our mindset needs to change. It really needs to change. And for that to change, we, Nappy Bricks, you and I, and every one of us must tell our story the way it is from our perspective. We must begin, to teach our children our history. Children in the continent of Africa are learning about Europe and the West.
Yeah.
Learning about their history. And no one is teaching them about, the richest man in the world. Who is he? The richest man that ever walked this planet was an African, was a black man. No one is teaching us. And there we don't have self-confidence. We lack self-confidence. We have low self-esteem. Why? Because everything that is African is stemmed not good enough, is stemmed bad, is stemmed, not, how do I put it now? It's negative, is attributed or attached to negativity. So what we're trying to do now is to change the narrative, not again making the mistake the second time, of allowing mainstream media to define us the second time, then I'm going to say we are the one that is at fault. Then we are stupid at this particular point in time if we allow them to be the one to define. And when they say anything negative or they portray us, I believe journalism, this is not journalism. What they've done is a single story. Journalism is when you present the two stories and you allow the audience, or you allow the viewers, or you allow the people to decide. But what the mainstream media, their method of journalism is about a single story. They portray a story that suits their narrative, and then they also decide for the people. So the people are left with the choice of agreeing with them or shut up. Why? Because if you speak, they will tell me as being difficult. They will tell me, as all of these things. You see the way I'm talking, a lot of them would tell me as being difficult. They would, they will want to, tell me about what they think that I am from their perspective. That's why I do not go by a Eurocentric ideology. I define and redefine things. You see? So I don't go by the Eurocentric construct or the European construct.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, we must begin to redefine things as Black people and as Africans globally. We must begin to tell our story, tell our children our story, tell them about our history, teach them by ourselves. It is important that we teach them by ourselves. Let them see the image of those who are teaching them that is representing them, and they can relate with it. I wasn't relating to the books that I was reading growing up as a child in Nigeria, because these books, they have they have European characters, pictures in it. So how can I relate to snow? There's no snow in Nigeria, so how can I relate to snow? There's no cold weather in Nigeria. How can I relate with all of these things?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to change that narrative. It is important that we do so. At least, let's come together, let's unite, let's bridge the gap. You see, mind you, in doing so, we must hold ourselves accountable. Accountability is what is lacking in the Black community. Accountability is what is lacking. So we don't give free pass. It doesn't matter, or regardless if you're Black, the skin color has nothing to do with this. It has to do with who is capable. It has to do with not excusing bad behavior. It has to do with us respecting ourselves, us trusting ourselves, and be willing to work with one another, not being too suspicious about each other, and trying to tear and bring each other down. These are the things that we need to change so that we can have the right mindset. Once we have the right mindset, we can work and achieve, the dreams of our ancestors. And our future generation, let's make the right decision for them, this generation. I'm calling on all Africans and Black people globally. Please do this for your future generation. It is important that we make sacrifices for them. The reason that we are here is because our ancestors, they made sacrifice. They made lots of sacrifices for us. And if we can also, they weren't perfect, I know, but let's make sacrifice for our future generation. And on this note, I want to say thank you so much, Nappy Bricks, for having me on your platform. And if you want to, ask any question, because I'm looking at the time, we schedule. Yeah.
Yes. So we will take 5 questions and then we'll end the live stream. Thank you to each and everyone. Andy corrected me. Andy says she's a lady, so shout out to Andy. Andy is coming to Africa soon. She's trying to learn the culture before she gets here so she can be familiar with it. So that was her perception, and it's so nice. Yes, at least you can learn something, so when you get here, you'll be familiar with the culture. So 5 people, 5 questions, and then we'll end it today. She has been really, really educative this evening. We really appreciate her for that. The African Unite Force. Yeah, she's coming with force. She's not joking. Yeah. So if you're here, her link is in the description. and that's her name on the screens too. So subscribe to her channel, the African Force Unite, African with K, and then Force, Unite Force, sorry. Yes, we are uniting and we are coming with force. So it's not just her, but all of us. Yes, and she is doing an amazing job on her YouTube channel. So please go ahead and subscribe to her channel. The comments keeps coming, and we are left with 5 minutes to go. And Anu, please, enough of the strong words. Yes, you're making your points, but please mind the words. Yes, thank you so much for coming. Anu. Andy, thank you so much. Blackmail TV, shout outs to you. Thank you so much for joining. Reed, thank you so much. Yes, so we are still waiting for the questions. I see, okay, let me read the suggestions and then opinions so that maybe you can take something out of it and use it as a question. I see you on your own channel, African Unite Force. Yes, this is from Anu. Anu, please, enough of the strong words. Thank you so much. Yes. Well, the comments are just coming. I don't know which one to click. All right, I saw something about religion up here. Let me look for it, and then maybe we can talk about it before you go.
Okay.
Someone is asking, would we practice Christianity if white people never forced it on us? That's the question we never ask ourselves. Would we be practicing Christianity if white people never forced it on us? Yes. I think these are all suggestions. There's no question incoming. Yes. Opinions, suggestions, and all that. Yes. Since questions are not coming, we're going to end it live in 3 minutes. But before you go, you gave your last words, but I want you to give the very last time, and then we can wrap up.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. So what I'm gonna say is that the danger of a single story can really affect. It can come in several and different ways. Relationship in a lot of ways. But yeah, so it is important that we hear two sides to a story or anything. Give people the chance to tell you know their own story and hear from the other side as well, so that we can have a balance of what the situation or whatever thing is all about. So it is very, very dangerous for someone to pursue or to push a single story. Now, what I'm saying to continental Africans and diaspora Africans, it is important you learn about each other history from each other, not from a third party. You must learn each other history from each other. How do you connect? How do you unite? You build and reconnect and start making move, by connecting with little groups, and connect, in small numbers. So don't wait for a mass exodus or something like that before you want to make a move. You can reach out to a sister, a continental sister, or a diaspora sister and brother, and then you can start, engaging in a conversation. You can start talking about your struggles. You can start talking about a lot of things, educating each other, learning from each other. This is one way we can actually actualize, the African unity, which realistically, I don't think perhaps it is possible, but hopefully I do believe that it will help. It will happen if we make, the right decision and if we make the right move. So it is important that we don't speak from, we don't speak with an illusion, or from an illusion, right? We should learn how to face a reality, and we have to make decisions from a logical perspective and not from an emotional perspective, because I do know from experience, and that Black people, we are very, very emotional people, and sometimes we make decisions out of our emotions and our feelings, and therefore we are blinded to logics and we are blinded to facts. So it is important that when we do away with these things, not that it is bad to have feelings and emotions. There's nothing wrong with it, but it should not, stop our critical minds, or it should not, stop us from, learning or judging from a critical perspective, so that we can have a fair, understanding about what is actually going on. So it is important that we do this, and let's make our unity a priority. If we do that, then we can start, making individual steps, taking individual, decision, and see how we can work on ourselves individually, because quite a number of us, we are really broken mentally, and otherwise. Now, for us to have that change, for us to, come together and truly unite, then we need to work on the mental. We need to work on us mentally as an individual. You see, then we can start, relearning and unlearning certain things that has been taught to us. It is not easy. It is not easy in this modern time to be a Black person globally, anywhere in the world. It is really not easy. The number of the danger, or the number of things that has been done to us historically and even now, it is really fascinating to me that we still have a mental whatever minds still little together. So you see, to an extent, I said, let's give ourselves some accolades, because it is not easy that we're going through all of these things and we still have ourselves together. It is really, really not easy. But I do believe that if we can actually support each other, work with each other, and try to help and support, we can make the change that we want to see. So thank you
We
so much. And thank you,
make the
Abebe,
change we want to see
for
if
having me.
we support each other. You're warmly welcome. And I know you have a lot to say, but our time is really limited, and we will still have a part 2 of it. I know people are enjoying this topic, and people have a lot to say about it. We will have a part 2 of it coming soon. We will schedule a date. We are far apart, and our time range is going to be a problem, but we'll sort it out, and then we'll bring a part 2 so that you guys can maybe we can have the part 2 on your channel, so that we'll bring everybody on your channel. Yes, so that you can. Yes, let's try and do it that way. So you guys have been really amazing. Your comments, your suggestions, whatever you brought in, we really appreciate it. I will still go through, and then we'll write some questions down. I know there were questions in, but the comments were a lot. They were a lot, so I couldn't read enough of them. But thanks to each and everyone that came through to support. Thank you so much. The African Unite Force, we really appreciate you this evening that you came in to show us some love, give us creative ideas, and we are going to follow and use it so that we can be one big Africa and unite and push as well. And we will know how, yes, everybody's saying we want the part 2. Yes, the part 2 will come. Blackmail TV, shout out to you. Yes, Eric, big question. Thank you so much for coming. So, guys, go ahead and subscribe to the African Unite Force. I'll put a link in the description. Also, I've put a link in the comment section. If you find it inside the comment, please click on it and subscribe to the channel. It's also in the description, so go ahead and subscribe to the channel, please. I don't know if I'll come back in the night, because yes, I have to come back. So if I'm going to come back, I'll let you guys know. Right now, I have a meeting, so I have to go. Shout out to you, the African Unite Force. We really appreciate you, and then we'll make time for the part 2. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Thank you
so much. Me. Right. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So guys, go ahead and subscribe to her channel, the African Unite Force. She's doing really amazing. She's bringing so much on her channel. So please don't forget to subscribe. If I didn't mention your name, please forgive me. You've done so well to be here. We'll still come back tonight around 9 p.m. same time. Yes, so we can have our normal live stream. This was a hot topic. We will definitely bring you a part 2. And then I have to run now. So I'm going to catch you guys on the other side. Peace out.